For Frank and Roy, you guys spoke on the conference call about the positives of fighting in your hometown. What are some of the sort of difficulties of fighting here? I know you guys both joked about sharing gym time and sort of overlapping each other. And Frank, you spoke about the lack of training partners. Could you expand on some of those things for us?
I think there's no drawback fighting in Vegas. If it was up to me, I would fight in Vegas every time. I've enjoyed my trips to other cities. I got to see things. I mean, I really was a fan of Indianapolis. I thought it was a beautiful place, but I mean, let's face it, I was born and raised here. I got my family, kids, they all come in here. It's my house. The night before the fight, I like the fact I'm sleeping in my bedroom, in my room, in my house, and I get to drive down to work. I find it pleasant, you know. I don't have to sit there and worry about, well, what place is open, where am I going to get my food, do they serve this kind of just go out there and fight. I prefer it every time.
Yeah, fighting at home is probably the best, just because everybody's, we're in Vegas. Everything's open 24/7, so you can go get burgers at any time of the day. You can get it at night. So for me, it's one of those things that when everything's that's open, you can just go to. Sleeping in your own bed's always good, versus sleeping in a hotel bed. But at the end of the day, it's the fans of Vegas that come here to watch the UFC.
I think he was asking too about you two fighting over gym time. Isn't that what you said? Yeah. There's been a lot of that. They've been fighting over everything. Trump colors, gym time, you name it. These two have been fighting and they haven't even fought yet.
Yeah, okay, let's establish this. I've been in the UFC longer. When I want to go to the gym, I get to go to the gym first. But the problem was, actually Roy and I don't think cared. We sit there, Jess would come in, hit the cardio machine, we sit there, be talking before the fight. But then, Giff, he was like, hey man, you got Frank walking around, you guys are like buddy-buddy with each other, like, 10 weeks before the fight, talking about what's going on with other fighters. Let's build up some animosity, I guess. I don't think it worked, but, I don't know. Did you get mad about the gym time?
Just a little.
I guess it worked a little bit. I smirked about it.
Me? Question for you, Roy. The state of the heavyweight division right now, with Brock Lesnar having to pull out because symptoms of diverticulitis, has changed the dynamic at the top of the division. And you're facing a former champion right now. What does a win for you mean in this division, especially with Shane Carwin and Mir and Roy Nelson fighting next month? What does this win mean for you on Saturday night? Should you pull it off?
It means a lot. I mean, you got Frank, who's a two-time UFC champion, so for me, just to put a UFC champion on my belt, it's one of those roadblocks that I need to get to where I can actually have the UFC belt. So it's just a great opportunity just to be fighting Frank. Frank is a legend of the UFC heavyweight division. I mean, he's been in there for 10+ years. So for me to be able to say that I beat a legend and a two-time heavyweight champ, that's I'm all for that.
Frank, same thing to you. Your thoughts on the heavyweight division and what this victory could mean?
Well, I think that right now, taking the opportunity that what happened with the main event a couple of weeks ago is I think catapulted to Roy and I are much more highlighted in this fight now on Saturday. Also with obviously what has happened with Lesnar, very unfortunate, but at the same time it does raise to question how much sooner. I think now, in my opinion, I think that now we are getting a true who the #1 contender is in a fight on June 11th between Shane Carwin and Junior Dos Santos. I figured the winner of that match is very deserving. I don't think anybody can argue that they are not the #1 contenders. And I think that the fight this Saturday between Roy and myself now puts us in the #2 spot, where whoever wins between us, I might have to fight one more time after Saturday to take up time, because obviously they're going to have to set up the fight with Kane in the winner of that fight. But I feel that right now that puts us right there steamrolling into it.
For Frank also, do you enjoy training for fights when there's an animosity between you and the other fighter? I mean, does it make it easier? Clearly this time there wasn't, other than the gym stuff and the truck.
No, I mean, it does make it a little bit easier as far as when we talk about the fight to build it up. I have a lot of mutual friends and family members at times. Roy and I get it, that they don't understand it. But as far as when it comes down to the fight, I think the hard time I think a lot of people find with fighters is that if my wife were to get in the ring with me, I would try to knock her out and choke her unconscious. I would flip the switch instantly. I don't think that that would be any other day. we don't have that. But that's what makes it to when we're up here. Roy and I are friends before the fight. I don't care. I like the guy a lot. And after the fight, as long as there's nothing done inappropriately, like a choke being held after the bell gets rung, which neither one of us have ever done anything like that, we'll be friends afterwards, regardless of the outcome. But during that fight, it doesn't matter that we didn't like each other beforehand. Trust me, Roy's going to try to knock my head off. I'm going to try to knock his head off. And if I can catch him in a choke, I want him to go to sleep. And I guarantee you, he would like to take my arm and put it on his mantle. I've never tapped in a submission competition, and I've never tapped in the UFC. I'm sure he would like to be the first one to create that happening.
And when you were fighting Brock, there was a lot made of the fact that you gained a lot of weight. You were 265. Can you give us a preview as to how much you'll weigh on Friday?
I'm going to go right to the limit. It's 265.
So you're still feeling that being bigger is better right now in the UFC heavyweight?
No, I just think I don't really care so much about the weight. It's a number on a scale. Right now, I just try to be as efficient as possible in the gym. If I'm doing ring circles and I'm lumbering around, it doesn't matter if I weigh 250, I'm lumbering around. You have to just be efficient and make sure that you're fighting appropriately. James Gifford, my boxing coach and head coach, he's been around boxing a long time, and I value his opinion. If he sees something's not working for me, I don't look at it like, well, it's a number on a scale, it's why I'm not doing well. I don't consume myself with it anymore. I think that being strong, fast are great attributes, but technique is still king.
I've been saying that for years.
That are friendly, and the fight doesn't really pan out because they're too busy, high-fiving and smiling and glove touching and hugging and that sort of thing. Is there any danger, and we'll start with you, Roy, of this fight playing out that way, or is there a different mentality you take to the case?
Well, I think one thing that everybody's missing is this is a sport first. So it's like playing basketball, football, we're martial artists. So we're going out there to put on a show and basically have a job. So like the animosity, are we going to be hugging? Because we might be hugging afterwards, like good job, whatever. But we're not going to be hugging before, because that's not what you do before a match, or you don't really see that during basketball either. When this is the playoffs, it's the playoffs. We're going out there to win.
Frank, do you care, Tom? You touched a little bit on flipping the switch.
I was just curious, when does the hugging stop? No, he's absolutely right. I mean, that's what I've been trying to explain to everybody. I don't need to fake it and build up this, that I don't dislike you. I think maybe that's what people are having a hard time understanding, is that I don't have to dislike you to want to punch you. If it's my job to do that on that given day, it's the same thing as a football tackle. I watched John Lynch knock out his brother-in-law in a football game. It was tight end. I'm telling you, that was going to be a rough Christmas. I'm sure before the game and after the game, they were cool with each other, but when his brother-in-law came over to the middle, Lynch put the helmet to him, and he put him out. He had to leave the game. That's just the way it is. It's a sport.
And Dana, can you comment on that? I can think in some ways that's kind of music to your ears. You like, saying like teammates need to fight or whatever, but when we see real beef, real animosity, obviously that's good for financial results as well. But what do you think when we have a fight like this?
Yeah, it is what it is. I never, you guys know, you've seen me long enough up here. We've got the days where guys absolutely can't stand each other, and it is what it is. And you got days when guys respect each other. Do I think these guys are going to fight, any less harder than two guys who hate each other on Saturday? Absolutely not. These guys want to win. Both, all these guys sitting up here right now and the rest of the card, it's a big deal to get out there and not only win, to put on a good performance. And you'll have those weird, occasional moments where guys are touching gloves and hugging, and yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of that. It's weird when it happens, and yeah, Mosley Pacquiao was a very good example. A very good example. And you're watching, it looks like you're watching a high-priced sparring match. I'm a huge fight fan. Diaz and Daly are fights that I like. I like guys that go out there and go after it. And those are fun ones.
Just for the future, I hate everybody now that I'm going to fight. So we won't have all that animosity.
It's the hugging stopped.
Follow-up question for both Frank and Roy. Earlier you all mentioned flipping that switch, and I think part of the reason that the public has such a difficult time understanding it is because of how new MMA is to the general public. And can you talk a little bit about the process of flipping that switch and going from being buddy-buddy to punching somebody in the face?
I don't think it's any different than any athletic endeavor. Basketball, football, hockey, you name it. There's that moment where you're in the locker room and it's time to go. It's time to compete. I'm not thinking about how my opponent's going to feel after the fight or anything like that. You're my opponent now. You're no longer Roy. I'm not longer going to be frank to him. I'm the guy who's trying to take, money out of my pocket. That's an issue now. If someone tried to rob you for half your paycheck, you wouldn't be hugging or touching them during the fight. You'd be pretty upset about the situation. But after it's done, you put things back into perspective where I realize, oh yeah, well, he's getting paid to do the same, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, I have more obligation to my children going to private school than I do putting anybody else's kids in private school.
It's really just straight competition. I mean, when you compete, all you want to do is win. I mean, I've had fights where I've literally knocked somebody out, and I've actually walked away and told the ref, hey, he's out. And that's just because I'm a competitor. I'm like, I already know I won. I don't need to demolish somebody or like hurt them more than what they have to. Somebody, he's somebody's dad or somebody's son or somebody's brother. This is just a sport, and that's one thing that a lot of people aren't, kind of grasping. And it really is just the best man in the highly athletic development versus like basketball. We just have to be athletes in every
Sleeping
aspect.
at your houses the night before the fight, or will you come and separate yourself from whatever chaos might be going on at home the night before?
If I don't have my kids jumping up and down on my chest while I'm trying to sleep, I don't know how I would cope with that. The room would be too silent. So I'll be here at my house.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It all depends on the chaos of like doing PR. If it's early in the morning, then maybe sleeping here. But if it's an easy day, then it's sleeping in your bed.
The decision hasn't been made yet, though?
I have to see my PR schedule.
So room service doesn't sway your decision either way?
Remember, everything's open 24/7.
I think both of us have to admit that most of the time those decisions are made by us. I know who makes his decisions, and I know who makes my decisions. They're both sitting back there.